Okay, so we're going to move on to example number 3. Um, okay, so we're going to factor the numerator and denominator. So we have y squared plus 10y plus 25 here. So since the coefficient is 1, I'm going to use the shortcut. So I'm going to think of two numbers that multiply to give me 25 and add to give me 10. And I'm going to use the variable y in this case. So the two numbers I can think of are 5 and 5. So it'll be both positive for them to add to give me 10. And then in the denominator here, I have what's called a difference of squares. So difference of square, y squared minus 9. There's always a plus and a minus version. And so here's a plus and here's the minus version. And then the number that goes here is just the square root of that number here, which is 3. So you should learn about difference of squares in Algebra 2. And then for this numerator, I'm looking at it and what pops out is I see that they have this a common factor of y. So I'm going to factor it a y, and then I'll finish factoring. It'll be y plus 3. And I'm just going to check that they multiply, give me back this. Y times y is y squared. Y times 3 is 3y. And then in the denominator, we just have a single factor here, y plus 5. And so I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay, so step 2, I'm going to cancel out common factors. So I'm going to cancel them in pairs. So I see a y plus 5 in the numerator and a y plus 5 in the denominator. And then I see a y plus 3 in the numerator here and a y plus 3 in the denominator. And then that looks like those are all the common factors. And then so in step 3, I'm just going to multiply the numerators together and multiply the denominator together. So I have a y plus 5 times y. And then I have a y minus 1. Technically there's a 1 here now. So it'll be y minus 3 times 1, which is just y minus 3. So step 3 says, I can show you in the previous one, but in this case I can show you about the multiplying part. So when you say multiply here, it's enough to just leave it like this and just say multiply because there's a multiplication symbol here. You don't need to go and distribute or anything like that. So the product of these two factors is going to be the y plus 5 times y over y minus 3. Going to the last example, which is on dividing rational expressions. So dividing rational expression is a lot like multiplication, except the first step is different, which is that you have to do the keep, change, flip step for both dividing fractions. So keep, change, flip just means you keep the first fraction, you change division sign to multiplication, and then you flip the second fraction. And then the steps that follow are just like for multiplication. Okay, so for this division one, I'm going to have to do the keep, change, flip as my step 1, so I'll do it here, and then the last 3 steps are going to be the same. So the keep, change, flip would mean I'm going to keep the same first fraction, so that'll just be what you see there. And then I'm going to change this division sign to multiplication, so just write a big, I'll just use the dot. And then flip the second fraction. So you're going to flip this. So that will become x squared minus 25 over x squared minus x minus 20. We can also say that's the reciprocal. Okay, so now we can just go through the steps as usual after the keep, change, flip step. So I'm going to factor the numerators. So the numerator here factors to two numbers that multiply give me -6, add to give me -5. Those numbers are going to be -6 and +1. And I'm going to repeat it for this denominator. So that'll just multiply, factor into x, 5, 1, plus, because 5 times 1 is 6, and they add to give me 6. Okay, then I'm going to factor this. This is a difference of squares. So I'm going to have a plus and minus version, x plus minus, and then take the square root of 25, which is 5. And then lastly, for this denominator, there'll be x, two numbers that multiply to give me negative 20, add to give me negative 1. That's got to be 5 and 4. 5 should be negative, 4 should be positive. Okay, so step 1 is done. Okay, now step 2, we're going to divide up the common factors. So I see x minus 6 has no common factor, x plus 1 has a common factor here in the numerator and denominator. X plus 5 in the numerator, x plus 5 in the denominator, x minus 5 in the numerator, x minus 5 in the denominator. And so what I'm left in for step 3 is I have x minus 6 over x plus 4. So the simplified form of this division problem is x minus 6 over x plus 4.